And so here we start. This is 29 years after the videos I originally did. And this used to be the road I grew up in, Buxton Road in Rock Ferry. And I'm going to replicate those walks to a degree. And yabber on about some other differences. Obviously, my chat is not of any interest, just turn the sound down. But this morning, going for a walk through Rock Park. Yeah, I used to live here until 1986. I was born near Ionic Street School, I think it was. But as far as my formative years are concerned, I only really remember Buxton Road when we lived in Rock Ferry until we moved up to Bromborough when my dad retired. Now, I can't follow the original route I used to take because there have been some changes in the meantime, of course. I mean, the most obvious change to me is the entries. Like growing up as a kid, you used to race through them on your bike or run along them or whatever. It's just another area to play. And of course now they're all boarded up and look like it's overgrown through there as well. Oh, actually, stick to this side of the road so I can get a better view of these houses here, which I always thought were quite nice. Double-fronted houses. Two big semi-detached next to each other. Really quite nice. For a second I was just pausing over the name of this one. This is Haddon Road. It used to be at the back of me. And as we get to the top here, and the Evergreen Lodge Care Centre that's there now, where that is where there used to be a big open bit of road and garages. And the houses we see here used to be a couple of blocks of flats. This care home never used to be here. This is Chatsworth Road. But yeah, I'm trying to remember if it was 2 or 3 blocks of flats that used to be there. Can't remember the number of them. They weren't the big flats, they weren't the multi-stories. They were, I'd want to say about 3 stories high. Oh, I've timed this just right for a car coming out. Come on then. Off you go. There we are. But yeah, where these houses are now used to be blocks of flats. And I miss being able to go through the alleyways. Aside from that, aside from the houses now being where the flats are, not a great deal has changed around here. And this morning, I mean, here we are. I'll put the date on the video, but it's the 20th of July 2026. Ooh. Hello, kitties. Yeah, I know. I like talkative cats. I like cats generally, talkative ones especially. They've obviously been out on the tiles and waiting to be let in for breakfast. And yes, after a couple of heat waves we've had recently, I'm glad that it's cooled down enough, but we've got some sunshine for today. Videos always look a bit worse if it's just a flat overcast grey. So, future videos may be a bit more interesting to people who are remembering shops that used to be in places and stuff. I'm going to do a walk down towards Birkenhead and the shopping centre and so on. But for me, this is formative years, growing up, people I used to know and so on. I think it was this house here on the corner where a friend of mine, I can't remember the circumstances of friends, it might have been through Cubs or Scouts or something like that, but yeah, Harold Birch, the name that springs to mind. And can't remember much else because it was so long ago. Obviously, I'm 30 years after that video in 1997 is when I'm recording this one. And if I left Rock Ferry in 86, in my 20s by that point, the formative years, it's the stuff up to, and it's the secondary school years. Well, primary, secondary school, and the years afterwards on the dole, because it was the 80s. Lots of people were on the dole for a while. Until I got a job working in the Man Web down Birkenhead. Oh, and here used to be a house. Okay. And down here, another friend of mine used to live, and there was an underpass. Now, I'm not going to walk down there this time, because it's closed off. In the original video back in 97, you could still make it through there. But now I'll show you it's blanked off. And I'm trying to remember what this was like before this bypass was built. I know you used to be able to go straight down Bedford Road all the way to where the refreshment rooms is now. It used to be known as the Admiral. But yeah, the bypass. Go figure. Okay, and now let's see. Ooh, down here. Okay, pigeon. Don't mind me. It was nice having an area like this, which is Rock Park, as anyone watching this probably knows anyway. It was nice having an area like this to play in, which was out of your own road, away from traffic, that kind of thing. And even though, growing up in the 70s predominantly, traffic wasn't as much of an issue in the streets where we lived, I mean, now it's insane. I look at Buxton Road and cars parked on both sides of it. It really is quite narrow. But that was never an issue growing up. But even if it was, you could always come to an area like this, which is nice and quiet. I mean, yet again, ideal at the time, in a period when, as kids, we played out. I could go into an old man rant about being sticking indoors and playing on screens, blah, 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 but the world moves on, whatever. And I think when home computers and consoles became a thing, that probably became a bit more commonplace anyway. Why go out when you can have fun with something plugged into your TV and be comfortable, etc. Anyway, so we have. Well, this used to be another way to get down to the prom, this path here. As you can see in the distance, quite overgrown. But the other way is to follow it to the exit of Rock Park, which is where we'll be going. And then down along the front to several bits and bobs. Okay, if I'm going to be a bit more high effort with this video as well, I might actually insert a few photos from back in the day as we go along. For example, the building that used to be the entrance to Rock Park, which I've mentioned, that I'm sure I have a photo of somewhere. So I'll have to make sure it's scanned in at something like decent quality, and I'll insert at the appropriate time. If I find any along here, I'll do them to match. That would be good. And so many of the houses. Oh, I'm getting quite warm, even though it's about 15 degrees, which is mild. Having a light jacket on is not quite the thing to do. Of course, this time in the morning, so many people running, walking dogs. There are some people clearly waiting to be picked up for work in the morning. Has got out of the car near Buxton Road. Yeah. Used to be a building there, obviously, and there's that one, which is a property for sale. Nice little cottage there as well. Been walking through here with my sister in recent times, and a couple of cute dogs there. Okay. And don't be fooled by the fact it curves round, that's through a property. And this is the end of Rock Park. Okay. Yeah, lo and behold, in there, people with dogs. Now, I'm not sure what's going on with this house here. It seems to be gradually being cleared out. A lot of it's overgrown. But despite the fact it's cleared and at least accessible, because inside there was massively overgrown before, it's still not being sorted or maintained properly. I mean, broken window there. Been broken for an age. I think somebody's doing something with it, but I don't know exactly what. It's all a little unusual. I'm trying to remember. I think I've got this right. I think this bit in here, I want to say it's at the back of what used to be the Camel Airs Club. which is at the far end of the road with St Paul's Church on it. Was it St Paul's? No, St Paul's is up near Grove Road. I'll double check that. Maybe put a bit of text in to correct things. But there's a church the other side of the motorway there. There's a road that runs up towards Rock Lane East. After all this time, I still kind of get confused about Rock Lane East and West. Ooh. Ash Lee. Not spelt like the person. So anything's possible. Ooh. And the summer we've had. So much heat. Not that much in the way of rain. Oh look, there's actually enough of a clear path down there. So somebody used there as a cut through to get down to the prom. I'm not sure. I mean, look at this. I think this is really quite pretty. Yeah. It seems some people have taken this walk to cut the corner off. But let's give you the full view. A proper walk. Very happy bouncy dog there. And this bit here, we follow the road down that goes towards kind of what I know as the Dell. I'll point out something else which is of potential interest. I mean, the way that I'm looking at this is, I'll say, through the lens of my formative years and post-school, the CB days, if anyone remembers doing that. I used to be, and in some ways still am, Ford Prefect. Named for a character from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That I just felt quite an affinity to. Who's going to be interested in my ramblings of this? Who else who listens to this might even have been on the CB radio back in the day? Well, there you go. That exit bit down there is called Rock Park Road. And yeah, I think this is the Dell. And that building that we can see there, with a clock on the side, another care home. But there used to be a building which was, it's kind of like a club. I remember it being called the Buffs. Much more than that, I'm very hazy on. Now, another change we'll notice as we go towards the prom here. I mean, here's a little bit of a jetty with a slope down so you could launch your boats back in the day. Still potentially could today, I suppose, when the tide's in. But yes, one thing will be noticed is the state of the prom is definitely the worse for wear compared to how it used to be. But then again, you've got to be able to afford to upkeep it. Nice view across to Liverpool. See both the cathedrals, one behind the other there. Rock Ferry oil terminal. Oh, there you go, more people walking, a runner, a couple of benches for a sit down. But that, especially on a nice sunny day, that really looks quite nice, I think. I have to come back here and take some photos rather than just this video. But yeah, I think this, I'm not sure if it's just an oil terminal like the one in Tranmere or if it took gas on as well. Of course, the Liverpool skyline's changed quite a bit since. Well, some things just don't change. I mean, the liver buildings just beyond the jetty for the terminal. You can see some of the newer buildings, but the live building itself clearly remains. And there's what's known as Radio City Tower. Yeah, remember back in the day, Billy Butler, Radio City, that kind of thing. And as we go along the prom, there's a few changes too. I mean, okay, the amount of it being overgrown here also sort of ties in with the fact that, well, currently regular roads, regular pavements and roads have this sort of stuff growing out of them at the moment because nature has gone a little bit wild with the heat. Look at that. See? Stuff collapsing away at the end there. This is a bit of a new build thing as well, spotted recently. That's not been there forever. Someone's called it Garden Street. Lots of repurposed old windows and stuff, but a thing. And it never used to be a straight path down here. I think to discourage, back in the day that cycling was a bit more prevalent for us kids back then, so that we couldn't go along here on our bikes, there was a gateway, a wrought iron gate that you had to push away. You climb into a gap, pull it to, go round the gap into the other side of it. It had a big spiky semicircular bit jutting out over the edge of the prom so you couldn't climb around it. But that's gone. I'm just trying to remember precisely where it was. I'm looking for points. I think it might be where these metal posts are coming up. I think it was roughly there. But yeah, clearly they didn't want people herring along here on bikes. They wanted to discourage that by having a dead end. But that cut through to the prom halfway along. Oh yeah, that had a gate as well, so yeah, again, no bike could get down there. And I think from the Admiral end, because the Admiral's the pub that used to be there, and it's now the refreshment rooms. I think that was open, so realistically, I suppose you could have ridden your bike along there so far until you hit a gate that you couldn't get past, and you had to turn around. Which was largely pointless when you could have raced around the park itself, especially when the subway was still there, because you'd be able to make a loop of it if you wanted to do that. I always find it a little bit odd that you get patches of grass growing in the middle of the mud here. Obviously enough nutrition, but you kind of think something like that would get submerged or washed away. You wouldn't be able to stay there when the tide comes in. But there it is. Wow. Very overgrown. Lots of people out for a walk. The weather's ideal for it at this time of day. If it is going to get warmer today, which apparently it's going to hit low 20s, then if people wanted to chill out, get a bit of sunshine, get a walk in before everything starts off, before they have to head off to work in some instances, then it's a nice temperature for it. I'm actually overheating a little bit with this jacket, strangely enough. And you can probably hear me crunching along a gravelly bit where the tarmac is all broken up beneath and gone. I'm trying to remember if those gas storage tanks on the end there. Are these for gas or for oil? Storage tanks, either way. Closer we get to the end there, and a crane you can see in the distance. Shooting wide angle to catch as much as possible, so you're not going to be able to see it very well until we get closer. I can see the symbol of the Camel Aids building on top of its building in the distance, because we're facing down towards Birkenhead at this point. Anchor in there at the moment. What associations other people have with here? How many people grew up in Rock Park? I knew one. A friend of mine, Richard. We were both interested in photography at a particular time. And I remember I was quite impressed with an SLR camera he had at the time, and I was just using a regular. I'd only just. Oh, there we go. Sorry, there's the other fence, the other gate. Used to be able to come out of. Used to have a sign up there as well. Come down, or somebody's taken it. And it used to have some of the bylaws of Rock Park mentioned on it, if I remember. But yeah, sorry to get back to that. Me wittering. My friend Richard, he had 35mm SLR camera instead of the 35mm point and shoot I'd got, because I'd only just gone up from 110 cameras, testing people's memory again there. An SLR where you could change the lenses. He only had the one lens, so he didn't change it, but being able to see through the lens exactly what you were getting rather than line up to a viewfinder which was approximate. Okay for landscapes, but close in, parallax error creeps in. If that term confuses you, I'd say look it up. It's worth educating yourself a little on that, but either way, I witter. Apologies. But yeah, he had a Zenith 35mm film camera. Oh, back in the day. These selfie culture would be destroyed nowadays. One, you've not got a screen to be able to take a photo, and it costs to buy the film, have to take it in for processing, which also costs. 1 hour photos were very rare, well, relatively rare, and more expensive. 24-hour photos were more common, where you put it in and then come back and collect it a couple of days later from, I don't know, Boots or Max Spielman or whoever. So that was the thing. But yeah, my friend Richard. I remember he was quite into Spandau Ballet at the time, whereas I was probably a little bit more of a Durrani. I mean, the first couple of albums especially, self-titled one and then Rio, still listen to them to this day. But still, familiarity, nostalgia, wow. My son is doing a bit of a thing. Fairly long proms. I don't think I ever walked along that jetty. I think it was blocked off. And we're getting down to the bit labelled as Rock Ferry waterfront, which is where the Admiral used to be. And here, on the left, this bit here, before we get to those fence bits, I think, it used to be around here where the Roman cottages were. Actually, no, I think where the brickwork stopped. There were a couple of old buildings known as the Roman cottages. I'm fairly certain I've got a picture of those, if so I'll put it up now. Nice buildings, but teeny little things, probably couldn't be used or redeveloped for anything in particular. Fell into disrepair, and at some point, I'd just say it became more affordable for the council to go, yeah, they need to be binned off rather than become a derelict thing to potentially be maintained or renovated later. It's a shame to lose some nice buildings or things that add to the history. Because Rock Park and this bit here used to be a bit of a touristy attraction too. And see this bit here, especially that break in the, I think that break where you see the modern wall there, I think that used to be the entrance to where you could park when you visited the Rock Hotel. Because there used to be a hotel here. It was very touristy. Up until, I don't know, mid-1900s maybe? Probably tailed off then. Not sure how much the war will have impacted things. Second World War. But in the 1800s, I mean, there appear to be bunches of old photos showing lots of people coming here for days out. It seems like one of those Victorian era, very touristy places. And then as trains became available, travelled to North Wales. The exotic places, the exotic lands of Rhyl and Llandudno, etc. Okay. Oh, let's have a little look at this sign. I've not spotted this before. Save our slipway. Oh. Ferries have been operating Rock Ferry since 1660, although the current slipway was only built 200 years ago. There is a slipway. And now, refreshment rooms. Or, as it was known to me back in the day, the Admiral. I wasn't really interested in going to the pub at that particular point. Oh, also of interest, just beyond it, let's have a proper look. But we have a building which is behind it. I'm not sure how much of a view we'll get of it. But this is the Yacht Club. It used to be a bit of a thing for sailing. Okay. Tranmere Sailing Club. According to a sign on that building there. Okay. Random little gas pipes just dead-ended there. Multiple pipelines, do not excavate. And a path through there. And there we go. Royal Mersey Yacht Club. Let's have a little look through there. Ooh. Oh. Banged the phone a little bit on the way out. Bit clumsy. Who's piloting this? And there we go. What I'm going to do to conclude this video is just walk us back to where I parked up. Roughly. Towards the bottom of Buxton Road. But come on, let's go a slightly different way. Because when you're a kid, let's face it, you didn't walk to a lot of these places, you used a bike. You used to cycle. Oh, who remembers the cycling proficiency test? There's one for you. Move over here. I have the dimmest memory of passing my cycling proficiency test when I was at school. And I remember getting a foil sticker to attach to the front of your bike. And a certificate, obviously. The only thing I really remember about it is that it used to be foil sticker was gold and red as the primary colours. Very Iron Man, obviously, in retrospect now. Might see if I can find an image of that. Put it on screen. And here we go. And now we're looping back towards where we came in initially. Yeah. Even now, admittedly, we're sort of at 20 to 8 in the morning as I record this bit. Relatively quiet, aside from the sound I can hear from the bypass. And the bypass, for those who do not know, comes out as, well, it starts from the Rock Ferry end, but what used to be the very bottom of Russell Road, before the houses that used to be along there were knocked down. Oh, there we go. And it was redeveloped into an industrial estate, which is still there now. And it goes from the Rock Ferry end there, up towards New Ferry that way, and it comes out at the Bolton Road roundabout. So that stretch of road means that the traffic, which is increasingly busy, anyone coming across from the Liverpool side through Birkenhead Tunnel, gives them the opportunity to carry on bypassing Rock Ferry and New Ferry and Port Sunlight onto the A41 up to the M53 to go onwards if they were doing a longer trip. Lots of people do larger commutes nowadays. Okay. And I'm going to be staying on this side just to show you where the house used to be. I mean, here there apparently used to be a cottage, and I think it was something to do with somebody who was a park keeper or somebody implementing a toll. It's entirely possible. Right, make sure it can cross over. Yep, timed that okay. But yes, here, and we can see a big empty patch of grass here. Right, with this tree in it. Now there, I think towards it, but lots of trees and things. But here, there used to be a big standalone building. All of its own. It was a house of some sort, but I remember even back in the day that I lived around here, it was falling into disrepair. I don't recall anyone ever living in it during the time I was here. And there we go, Rock Lane East. That's what this is. I often confuse myself over that one. Which one, Rock Lane East, which side of the A41 is east and west? There you go. I think after all these years, it's finally beginning to stick. And here we go, Mersey Lane South. Now, to actually step out onto the road so we can see something other than just a stack of cars, or would that be unsafe? Well, let's give you a little view of what it's like. That's largely it. No, we'll stick with this route. I'm just kind of thinking it might be nice to make a home alive and post a video. Oh, there we go. See, if I'd been on the road, there would have been that to negotiate. Even at this time in the morning, but here we are, 7:45, and people are beginning to gear up for heading to work. And the van has gone across the edge onto, I think it's Mersey Lane, and this is Mersey Lane South. He's gone straight over, because if he turned left and went along the road towards Bedford Road, he'd have a set of lights to contend with. Whereas going out that way, it's just a junction onto a road where if it's quiet enough, not sure if you could hear me because of the van, but I'll say, if it's quiet enough going onto that road and then following it along to the end. Oh, actually, no. I don't think that road actually joins onto the main road. I think it dead ends. But turning around, maybe. The old manor. Now, this used to be, as I recall, a convent. But now, of course, like so many of the buildings in Rock Park itself, it's either a house of multiple occupancy or a couple of largish apartments for people who can afford it. Nice area, it's just having the bypass right there. And rules the ambiance a little bit. And here we go, back down to Bedford Road. See, and this is what I miss about the alleyways again. You used to be able to walk up there and join Haddon Road part way up, or come out where that care home is that I pointed out. And it used to go straight on through there, see where the blue marks are on the curb, it used to go straight over to the yacht club and the Admiral. I'll still refer to it in modern terms. In old terms, I mean. I'm going to use old reference points rather than call it what it is now, because anyone watching this now will know what it's called now, I should imagine. Yeah, again, some nice buildings here. You see these first three there, they're older ones. 27 to 31. See, the fact that that is number 27 there on the left end goes to show how many more houses there may have been leading down to the front. Newer builds. Series of a few semi-detached. Okay. Looks like somebody's renovating here. I need to skip for that. And yeah, things you used to cycle along when you were a kid. Well, instead of cars double parked like this, it was a rarity to see many cars in the road at all. I remember in Buxton Road growing up, there used to be a family called the Wahlbergs, and they had a Ford Transit van. I'm trying to remember if they had a Vauxhall. No, Vauxhall Viva, if that was somebody else. There was a Bond bug on the side of the road with even numbers. A Manweb minivan on one side. Oh yeah, just as an aside, this little entrancey bit here, and the overgrown stuff beyond it, used to lead you to garages again. Open road, a few garages, and yeah, things we used to cycle around. I mean, the garages that used to be at the top of that road there, I think that's where my brother Mike hid for a while when he ran away from home. Ah, things. And there we go. I think that pretty much covers everything. I mean, looking at this ground here on the right-hand side, the trees, the grass, and so on. I mean, before this play area was here, who remembers that looking at it from, let's just finish up from the bottom of Buxton Road. Let's say, where I used to live. See, and these modern houses here as well. I remember a family that used to live here had a Ford Anglia and a daughter called Winifred. It's an unusual name. But yeah, this bit here used to be going from right to left. Evans's. There was a shoemaker's shop. There was Bourne's, which was a sweet shop. Can't remember some other bits, maybe somewhere that sold cakes. And there was another sweet shop called the Pink Elephant that had one of the Walls ice cream things on the outside. And a phone box. Fairly close to where that little phone exchange green cabinet is on the end there, near the lights. And that's it. Up-to-date video, part 1 done. I'll edit, stabilise, post, edit out where I'm coughing obnoxiously. Maybe insert a few photos of back in the day. Give things a little bit more context when you see them. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, oh come on, I've got to do that YouTube thing now, haven't I? Saying like likes and thumbs ups and subscribes. If anyone's watching at this point, who am I kidding? Hope you liked it anyway. I'm going to stop there.